Welcome to another edition of the Brewery Boys Expedition Podcast. I'm Ricky J here with Max P. Max, what's going on?
Cheers.
Oh, my goodness, we should start
Got
with
some
the
brews
cheers.
going. I got the Oktoberfest, and this is the first year we've got this in a can, and it's looking pretty doggone sweet, and it tastes really nice as well.
It is a good tasting beer. I went with the H2 hard seltzer.
Oh, that's my go-to. I do a lot of that as well. The Oktoberfest, for those that don't understand what an Oktoberfest is most of them tend to be a Marzen-style beer, which is a lager, but it's an amber lager. And so very approachable if you're an amber person. Matter of fact, we had to pull our amber off. It's always a bummer when you have too many beers and you don't know what to do. You got to free up some space because you got some new good ones coming out. And so we just pulled the amber off because we're just so stacked up with Neighborhood IPA and just the last of the Saison, which I think you got a chance to try.
Right.
And the Oktoberfest. And then, of course, we got Pumpkin Ale coming out. So things are getting pretty crowded on the tap list. But it's interesting when people come up and say, can I get an amber? Say, sorry, we had to pull that off temporarily till we free up some space. But we have the Oktoberfest, and it is an amber lager. And just by saying those two words, people are like, oh, okay, I'll try that. And so amber drinkers tend to really enjoy Oktoberfest as well, even if they didn't realize that's what they are. So, yeah, it's going really well. Of course, the old Lewis and Clark lager, as you and I have talked about before. And it will be at the Oktoberfest coming up this next weekend down at the fairgrounds. So lots of fun stuff going on with Oktoberfest beers, and we're excited to have one out and excited to have one in a can for the very first time. So,
that's awesome. We'll keep those amber drinkers happy then with that line, because otherwise they're going to be wanting it back on in a hurry.
Exactly. And we're working on it. We got a few things on order, some new beer lines, and we have that other tower that's kind of behind the East Bar over there that we've put the seltzers on. And so we're looking at creating at least 2 or 3 more opportunities there for some of the beers that, like right towards the tail end of their run, that we still have them, but we don't mind walking over there.
Sure.
You want to keep your volume beers, front and center on the main 2 draft towers, because when we get slammed and we got 20 people per tower lined up, we want to be able to give the best service we can. So hopefully we'll be able to expand that selection and still give great service. That's the goal.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we did each week we're doing a little 60-second segment where you can get out right away and get what's going on in the tap room. So if you're wondering, you want the down and dirty about what's happening, you can look for those. Folks can look for those. But now we're going to, we've got an opportunity here where it's a little more free-flowing to give a little more info and stuff, and maybe look at some videos on some bands that are coming up. So what do we have? What's happening at the tap room music-wise?
Get a chance to get a little more verbose. Yeah. So, yeah, we really do have some great stuff going on, and you and I have talked a lot in the past about how summertime in Montana tends to pull a lot of people out of places like breweries and tap rooms because it's beautiful. And you and I had a chance to get up and do some camping and done some fishing and stuff. And it's just a natural thing that happens when you're in an area that you only get a limited number of beautiful days. And so far, we've actually had a really nice fall, which is great as well.
Yeah, very nice.
But so coming into October and then November and December are normally some of our busiest times for some good live music crowds, because people get a little bit of that frustration of not having anything to do, and it's starting to get darker earlier. And so we got some good stuff coming up, and we mentioned in the short, but we can dive in a little bit deeper, some of the stuff coming up this week. Marty O'Reilly from Marty O'Reilly and the Big Soul Orchestra, he came through probably 3 years ago. It was pre-COVID. And it was just an amazing show. The guy's just got some incredible vocals, and if we can pull up, I think, a little YouTube action, we can show folks what Marty O'Reilly looks like here. And this was a session he did with the band, and he's going to be solo at our place, but give you an opportunity to hear his voice. He's got a really unique voice, and he tends to sound, to me, it grabs my attention like a Coulter Wall or some of these guys that you hear them, you see them, and then you hear them sing, and it's like, wow, that wasn't what I expected to come out of that person. He's that kind of guy. So,
all right, well, let's hear him.
All right.
I could tell that it was time to change. But I was afraid I might die if I stepped into the cocoon. More afraid that I wouldn't try. People compare it to the womb.
Kind of guy that definitely has a lot of feeling and a lot of emotion in his vocals.
Sometimes for somebody else, and you step in.
I'm actually excited about it because, you know, I've never seen him solo, and I'm just assuming that those vocals are even going to come out even stronger and be more of a presence because there's less to kind of hide behind, so to speak. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a great show. He's just got such a powerful and unique voice. That's going to be a lot of fun. So that's this Thursday night, $5 cover. I mean, this guy's normally $20 to $25 ticket everywhere he goes. He just happened to be coming through solo, and he's played at our place before, so he was very open to saying, hey, you know what? Whatever works in your market. And so we were able to pick him up at a way to allow people to see them that maybe don't know who they are, try to get a really nice crowd in there. So if you got nothing going on Thursday, make sure you stop by and check out that music. It's going to be really good. And then Friday, Gilda House, and she's played there before and has a really good following, and definitely one of those followings that continues to grow as she travels around. But we got one of her videos here, and different, you know, the beautiful thing, we've talked about this sometimes, Rick, is getting different kinds of music, because, you know, we've had a lot of country and we've had some good rock, and it's just always nice to mix it up a little bit.
It is. And I was just talking to someone yesterday at a watering hole, and they said, oh yeah, I'd love to get into your music. Kind of got pretty country, and my wife, or you guys do a lot of country. My wife's not into country. And it just took me for a minute, because I thought, yeah, I know some of the bigger bands or relationships we've had. We brought in some bigger country acts, but man, we stay pretty varied,
pretty diverse.
Yeah. And so I just said, yeah, it went that way, but it's changing up again, and you have a emphasis in several genres of music, and also reconnecting a little stronger with a lot of the local bands too.
Yeah,
and he goes, oh, I got to get back in there and check it out again. So
cool.
Anyway, hopefully.
So this is definitely a whole different genre, and another really powerful voice, but also just some different kinds of music.
Right.
Gilda House.
God deadlines, draw hard lines, sneak white lines sometimes, making headlines in lifetime. You are the paradigm, oh, but why everybody's barely getting by? Your lie could stand to die. Jones, you can slow this roll, make a new flow. These are hard times, you know, or do you know?
Got a really cool vibe. And live, they put on a great show, and quite a bit of lights. I think even some fog machines going, and quite a bit of synthesizer action, really tight bass. I mean, just really puts on a great show that last time we definitely had a lot of folks dancing and enjoying the music. So definitely come down and check out Gilda House. Again, another $5 cover. I mean, you're seeing bands that normally have a decent ticket price to them. We try to do this as inexpensively as we can because we also pride ourselves in trying to expose people to some new different types of music. And we understand that if you're walking into a place and there's a $15 or a $20 cover and you've never heard of them, it's kind of hard to justify spending, what you maybe thought you were going to spend on drinks that night on a band that you've never heard of. But $5, realizing that honestly doesn't even cover the cost of the live music.
Right.
I mean, you and I have talked about, looking at how do we continue to provide great live music and make it financially viable, because if you don't get that public support and, it just doesn't work. And I think everybody assumes that, that there's a lot of money to be made in live music, and there certainly is great nights that we've had, but there's a lot of nights that you've got a great band up there and you feel bad because there's only 15 or 20 people.
Right. I mean, I just think of the shows up in Great Falls, and you look at tickets from anywhere from $45 to $70 a ticket, and you'll have 800 to 1,000 people in a standing room venue. So they're, they get good drink service. They do set up plenty of bars, but it's not like there's anything special. It's just the music, and they've got people turning out for it. So it's like, what does it take to get a fraction of that number of people to come and turn out and pay a very small, $5,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Helena.
And again, we're not, it's just trying to subsidize the cost. And I think a lot of people don't understand, it takes quite a bit to put that on. I mean, we pride ourselves in having a really nice stage and a really nice light show and a really nice PA system that was all very expensive. And then we pride ourselves in having a sound engineer run it every time we have live music.
Right.
And those all cost money. So, again, it's just we appreciate that local support. And yeah, it's $5, but hey, it's going to continue to allow us to bring new artists and local artists to the brewery so people can come out and enjoy some live music.
Well, yeah, I mean, the things you do, I think any business, you want to please the customer. So you're trying to do things that people want. And if people aren't showing up, then it's kind of a statement that, yeah, we don't really want that in our community. We'll drive an hour for it, but we won't.
And in some cases, spend the night, have dinner, stay in a hotel, and all those other costs. And we really hope to get to a point to where we can actually start bringing bands that you've absolutely heard of. But in order to get to that point, we have to justify the fact that, hey, we need 400 people that are willing to spend $40 or $50 to get those bands that you've heard of, like you and I have driven up to Great Falls to see just in the last. Well, I mean,
it's the opportunity to, if you like live music, to get out and see people like Ward Davis, who, obviously wrote a song, at least one for Willie Nelson.
Huge.
And so a guy like that, who knows where he's going to end up in 5 years, and to have an opportunity to see him for, I think that show was free, but I don't really remember, little of nothing. And, just those opportunities are there to see these groups that are very, very talented. It supports them, supports live music, and you get to have a good time. So, and you don't have to drive, an hour or more.
Yeah. And I mean, you're pretty much guaranteed if we're going to charge even a whopping $5 cover, it's going to be good music.
Right.
We don't just kind of randomly book people we've never heard of. We look at their music and we watch some of the videos, and once they've been there before, we know what to expect. But I think people need to understand that it's okay to spend $5 to help live music. And again, more than that money goes towards the band and producing the music. Well, otherwise, they wouldn't be able to go down the road.
It's the ongoing costs of the band, the ongoing costs of the sound engineers, the ongoing costs of the person at the door.
Yep.
Those are the things you're hoping to cover part of it. You're not even considering the cost of the stage, the $70,000 PA system.
Our whole goal from the very beginning when we were down underneath the brew house, and the nice thing about that space is it only took about 18 people to feel packed,
right?
And 40, you couldn't even get to the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was like this is a crazy show at 50 people. Yeah.
But now it takes a couple hundred people to
Right.
get to that kind of vibe. But the cool thing is that allows you to stretch a little bit and pay more for some of these bands that wouldn't come to see or wouldn't come to perform in front of 40 or 50. They're
Right.
it's not economically viable for them to do that. So it's kind of baby steps, and we're taking those steps, and we do every once in a while swing for the fences and bring in someone that we know people have heard of, and some that have grown with us, like Laney Lou and the Bird Dogs,
Right.
that are already selling. I mean, gosh, I think that show's almost half sold out, and that's in December. So
Yeah, that's great.
There's certain bands that are going to hit that nerve, and people are going to react to them. But anyway, that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. David and Deidre Casey and their whole band will be there. Great local musicians come down for that. And then on Sunday, we got a little bit of a special treat. This one just fell in our lap last week. I got an email from the agent for Buffalo Galaxy, and they had a show. I believe they're out of Minneapolis. They had a show cancel in Billings, and they're on their way to Spokane. And they are a psychedelic bluegrass jam band. So that's covering a lot of different bases there.
We better listen to a little bit of that. To get
and
an
Helena
idea.
loves bluegrass. We've had some great bluegrass bands in there. But the psychedelic jam part of it, I think, is going to be kind of fun, because then you're actually pulling in some of the, the Grateful Dead people,
Right.
and some of the surf guitar people and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So here's the Buffalo Galaxy at just a local show we found up on YouTube. I think it's in Gunflint Tavern.
Need a boy who can cuddle with me all night. Love me long, keep me warm, be my sunlight. Tell me lies, we can argue, we can fight. Yeah, we did it before, and we'll do it tonight. Afro black boy with the gold teeth, dark skin looking at me like he know me. I wonder if he got the G or the B, and be fine out and see. Come on over to me. These days I'm way too lonely, and I'm missing out, I know. These days I'm way too alone, and I'm known for giving love away. But I want someone to love me. I need someone who needs me.
They're going to have a lot more room on our stage than they did in that video.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, pretty interesting sound.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And that's a Sunday. We don't normally have live music on Sundays. And actually, that was kind of interesting. I reached out when the band reached out, and I said, hey, I mean, it doesn't really work for us to, unfortunately, I can't pay you very much money
Right.
because it's a Sunday, and people in Helena are not used to live music on Sundays, although we've done a couple of shows with Keeper of the Green. The local dispensary has sponsored a couple of shows on Sundays, some of the Grateful Dead stuff out on the patio and stuff. And so I do believe that there is a demand for it if we can get the word out. We'll start a little earlier, probably just go like 7 to 9, something like that.
Okay.
Be a really easy vibe, and it's a totally free show, so people are welcome to come down and check that. I think it was free. It might be a $5 cover. I better check and make sure so I don't might have someone come into the door and say, wait a minute, I thought he said it was a free
if they
show.
listen to this podcast, I think they
Then-
should get it for free.
yeah.
Maybe you should give them a code word.
Let's do that. Let's say if you heard it was free on the podcast, and no cover charge. It is
No,
free.
darn
Woo!
Otherwise, I think that if we had little things in there to, hey, say this to your
that's-
bartender and get your
that's
first
true.
beer for free.
We should probably think about a secret word, not necessarily a safe word, but like a secret word.
yeah,
that
exactly.
that we could throw out there. And a little nugget that we'd offer like maybe halfway through the podcast
Right,
or something.
exactly.
It's like, hey, if you know the word and that word was pineapple or whatever it happened to be, you get free entry in. We'll have
Right.
to try that.
Yeah, we will.
Keep
But,
watching. We'll throw it in there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it looks like we've talked about this party coming up but we haven't shown any video of them. And that's some
on
80s rock.
Yeah, on the 20th, October 20th. It's a big birthday party as well. One of our friends is turning a monumental number and excited to invite a lot of his friends. So the entire upstairs is already sold out, and we've got about half the bottom sold out, and we certainly are hoping that this will be a sellout show for these guys. Their first time in Montana in a lot of years. They certainly came through Montana years ago. This is Rail, and they won the MTV Music Awards, the Video Basement Tapes Awards, and they were on tour with Van Halen for about a year back then. And we decided to show their biggest hit, but a newer version of it because, obviously it's been a lot of years since that hit. But here's them playing in Everett, Washington a few years back, their biggest hit called Hello. Back in the day that big hair and spandex and all that kind of good stuff going on, but they really are going to bring that 80s rock vibe. And if you were growing up in that era or even just familiar with the sound of that era, you are really going to enjoy a big sound. They bring a big sound, lots of amps, great vocals, kind of those piercing vocals that some of the 80s stuff has.
Yeah, and you got to look at that drum kit, and you got a double bass, 6 toms.
Yeah.
It would be Brian Barnes approved.
Mm-hmm.
He would love that kit.
Those expensive subwoofers we bought that are underneath that concrete stage are going to get a good workout.
Yeah, get a good workout for sure.
That's going to be great. And with them is a band you and I seen down at Rockin' the Rivers, I think a couple of times. They would end up closing the show a lot because they just bring a party. They're going to be opening up for Rail, and it's a band called Blue Tattoo. They do a lot of great, they have a lot of great songs themselves, but they do a lot of great classic rock covers. And if you like some of the classic rock tribute bands, you're going to love what these guys do. Here's a little clip from one of their shows.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are definitely going to get things warmed up, and they're actually going to do 2 sets before Rail kicks off. And so that's just going to be a really great night of rock and roll on Friday the 20th. And we're only, about a week and a half away. We've been talking about this for a while. So that's going to be a really cool show. if you haven't got tickets for that yet, get off your butt, get on lctaproom.com and grab yourself a ticket to that show because, again, it's going to be one of those memorable shows. And if it wasn't for the connection that we had with Bob, it's his birthday that night, they're the kind of band that, especially both bands, he's had a connection to these bands for years. He's seen them live for years. And
so they're like bands that he's just really
they're
loved.
kind of like his icon bands. And if you were throwing a birthday party and you want to have two of your favorite bands there,
right?
That's why this happened. Otherwise, I don't think this would have happened. I mean, these bands are playing at some pretty good size, classic rock festivals.
Sure.
That are going on right now. And so if you want tickets, again, they're anywhere from $20. And then we have a few reserved tables and things like that. But $20 to see two really good bands and probably, in essence, 4 hours of good rock and roll music. I mean, come on.
So that's kind of a special show. The upstairs is private for his party.
Yep.
The downstairs is any public that buys a ticket. And then what are the hours on that? Do you have that handy?
Yeah, I think we're starting a little bit early because of the fact that that Blue Tattoo was open to playing a couple of different sets.
Okay.
And so we're going to start at 7 o'clock and go to about 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So again, if you're, and don't miss Blue Tattoo. I know some people is like, anytime there's a band, I usually go, I go somewhere else and then I come just for the actual headline. I mean, they're both legitimately headline bands. And if you just want to hear some great rock and roll and party, get there at 7 o'clock. Or if you want a decent spot to hang out, I would get there a little bit before that.
Sure.
We'll probably be closing the doors around 5:30 and then kind of reopening at 6 so we can scan all the tickets and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you'll need a ticket or a wristband after 6 o'clock. And we fully expect to fill that place to the gills and show those guys what Helena, Montana can do with a good rock and roll party. So really invite people to tell their friends and call someone and say, hey, let's get together and go listen to some great rock and roll. I mean, especially a big band experience like that, like you mentioned, with the big drum sets and the big guitar amps. And I mean, we get that a couple of times a year, like with Zoso, the Led Zeppelin tribute band, and some of those. But I mean, it's not every weekend that in Helena, Montana, that you can go down and really hear a great band like that.
Well, it takes you back to another time, and if you like to dress up, I know a lot of ladies do with the 80s look.
Go with the tease that hair up, baby.
Yeah, I mean, the energy though of that music is such that it's just going to pull you out on the dance floor.
Yeah,
and just makes it a really fun evening. So it's Friday the 20th, right?
Friday the 20th, yeah. And so we've been talking about that for a while, but now it's just right around the corner, and so wanted to let people know about that. Now, outside of the music part of the world, a couple of cool events coming up. Obviously, pumpkin ale is one of the most popular beers we ever make, and we just made we just got the pumpkins from Westmont, which is a great nonprofit here in town that we've partnered with for a lot of events, the Wake the Giant Music Festival and things like that. And they actually grow the pumpkins out there, which is awesome. And we actually bought enough of the pumpkins this year from them so that we could can them and actually produce the pumpkin ale sooner next year, because that's one of the things that people are always saying, when's that pumpkin coming out? When's that pumpkin coming out? As soon as Starbucks comes out with like pumpkin lattes, the whole world says it's time for pumpkin.
Time.
Right? And so, and obviously the leaves are changing color and all the cool stuff the fall, has with it. And so next year, we're not only going to be able to bring it out earlier because we've canned those pumpkins, but we're actually going to be able to produce enough to put in a can next year for the very first time. So you're going to find pumpkin ale in a can. I'm not sure how wide the distribution will be because like this year we did a double batch. I mean, this stuff flies out the door. So normally we stop growler sales, which is the half-gallon jugs that people fill up, and take home or take to a party. We usually stop those in about 4 days because it drains our supply of beer when you're taking a half gallon at a time instead of, a glass of beer at a time. And so this year we did a double batch. So we bought actually quite a few more pumpkins, enough to actually can and to do a double batch. And that's coming out on October 17th, which is just next Tuesday night. It's going to be the pumpkin ale release. And part of that night that's kind of cool is we are actually doing our very first pinball tournament.
Nice.
So we've been talking about pinball and how popular it has been in the game room. And I mean, it's crazy how many people are coming in on a regular basis to play Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin. Now we have the totally redone. You and I played a little Fishtails the other night.
Right.
Just a beautiful machine. And Big Buck Hunter Pro, and we've got Iron Maiden, and just some really great pinball machines. Of course, Jurassic Park Premium with a big, Tyrannosaurus Rex. It grabs a ball and spits it out. Really fun stuff. So we're doing our very first tournament. This one's going to be just a local tournament. It's $5 to register. You can find out information on the lctaproom.com. We got some great prizes. But as part of the process of learning how to do tournaments, because it's the first time we've done one, we are actually going to be registering and have already registered for the IFPA, which is the International Flipper Pinball Association. And if you're serious about pinball, you'll want to get registered there. It's free. And not this one, but the next one will actually be a sanctioned event for IFPA. And it'll actually be part of something called the Stern Army. And Stern is the largest pinball manufacturer, and they make some great pinball machines. And they are already committing to send us a bunch of swag to give away. So like
Nice.
koozies and shirts and all sorts of fun stuff all around Stern Pinball. So keep that in the back of your mind. And if you're a pinball fan at all, get down and play some of the machines before the tournament. And then on the 17th, for a whopping $5 entry fee, you're going to be able to play these games, and you're going to be able to have a chance to win some prizes.
Gotcha. That's exciting.
And we'll talk about the winners after the next podcast. Probably get a shot of them and in front of the machine, and it'll be really cool.
That would be very, very cool. Well, anything else, Max?
Oh, gosh. I guess the only other thing is, this fall has been so beautiful that you and I have been able to sneak out and get a line wet.
We have a couple times. It's been nice.
Really awesome. Not that we've had a huge success ratio, but the success of just getting out in this beautiful weather.
This last time out, we did not slay them at all. But I do got a couple nice pics of you just out there, which I'll see if I can throw up in the podcast.
Yeah,
people can see it.
Went out to Hauser Dam, and we're learning the dam fishing. We haven't been dam fishing before, so
exactly.
We're more small creek and small lake fishermen.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just good to get out and enjoy that beautiful fall weather, and looking forward to a lot of great stuff coming up.
I got a motorcycle ride in. Now it's October,
really?
so today I got a motorcycle
I'm jealous.
ride in.
I didn't even get mine out yet, and you've got yours out cruising around. It was
probably,
like 78 degrees today.
Yeah, you might want to just leave it stored up now for the
probably not. Don't even turn on the insurance. Just keep it in the storage mode.
Exactly. All right. For Max P, I'm Ricky J. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.